Today we're going to update you on Celero's strategy and the progress we have made in several key areas. These areas were prioritized based on feedback from our credit union partners across the country and identified as the most critical to helping you improve your member experiences. You will hear from business unit leaders and product managers in the areas of digital transformation, solution integration, fintech, digital banking, core banking, and managed services. Before we get into the specific updates, we wanted to reiterate and share our strategic direction as an organization. Celero plays a unique role in the Canadian credit union system as a system-owned digital technology and integration company. Staying true to our roots, we will continue to provide differentiated mission-critical services. These services include core banking conversions and hosting, and traditional IT services and support, those of which you associate Celero with, and these will remain paramount as we move into the future. However, more and more we're hearing that the ability to enhance member experiences, gain operational efficiencies, and improve your competitiveness will come through the provision of leading-edge platforms and applications that you will need to easily connect to your core banking environment. Credit unions have shared with us that the ability to integrate these platforms and fintechs easily and the need to outsource vendor management to a solutions integrator will be critical moving forward. So we've been hard at work since last September when we all met last to provision solutions and invest in the infrastructure that we believe will set credit unions up for the future. Many of you that attended our conference will have seen our graphic of our ecosystem before. The areas that we've outlined here are where we will focus our time together this afternoon. To start the product update, I would like to introduce you to Deborah Moore, who joined Celero in September of last year. Deborah joined us from Van City, where she held a variety of roles, including Director of Member Solutions and previously Manager of Digital Engagement and Banking. Over to you, Deborah.
Thanks, Leanne. So we've established a digital transformation consultancy practice here at Celero to support credit unions as they develop and implement their own digital transformation strategies. We've heard from many of you that you want Celero to provide more strategic support to enable you to better navigate the unparalleled change and disruption we are experiencing in our industry. Technology and societal changes are driving how our members and consumers interact with technology throughout the course of all of their daily living. And amidst all of this change, consumers' expectations for personalized, connected, contextualized, and transparent experiences across all of their interactions, including the digital ones, are rapidly growing. It's a tall order. While at the same time, our industry's regulatory burden continues to increase, barriers to entry are lifting for emerging digital innovators that are rising to meet the growing needs of the digital consumer and coming into our space. Yeah, we'll stay on that slide, thanks. So this changing landscape is driving new business models. We're seeing new models emerge as a result. There are a number of key global trends that are influencing these changes. If we look to the UK, we see a number of challenger banks that have grown up there. They've reached the over 1 million customer mark. These challenger banks are digital native banks that largely have grown out of fintechs. Some of them started without banking licenses originally and now have a banking license because the new regulatory regime there is enabling that and cultivating more competition. What's interesting there is you're seeing the rebundling of the banks. So these challenger banks typically had one product or service that they did a great job of and had a really great experience, but they didn't have a full suite of services. They're now rebundling the bank by using a number of different fintechs as partnership and creating platforms where one application can provide a whole host of integrated services using all of these different fintechs. They're not recreating those products. And then we could look to big tech and fintech, and particularly Amazon as an example of the unbundling of the bank, which is systematically going through banking and looking at all of the services and products that are traditionally provided by a bank. They are targeting the high margin and high fee income areas and creating specific Amazon branded solutions for consumers. And then if we look at some lifestyle platforms that are emerging, particularly out of China, we see WeChat and Ant Financial or Alipay, which goes beyond the bank. You can basically do everything you need to do in a particular day within that particular application without ever having to go outside of that application. They've surpassed the 1 billion customer mark, and they are growing into areas like Indonesia, India, and then also into some regions of Scandinavia. And then here in Canada, we see open banking starting to become a conversation amongst our government. So Department of Finance has created an advisory committee looking into open banking, and the public consultation process on open banking has started. Many of you would have seen the CCOA response to open banking. I was part of a open banking roundtable with the government in Vancouver in the last couple of weeks. So we can't predict exactly what open banking will look like. We can look for hints to Australia, what's happened in UK and EU, because we will probably take those learnings. But I do expect that there are going to be changes coming that are going to influence how we need to adapt and innovate into the future. And we see this rise of this consumer experience economy where we're competing now and having to differentiate on experience, which is requiring us to be able to adapt and innovate as a result. And in terms of what digital transformation means for an organization, we quite often think of digitization of the organization, where it's taking or extending our existing capabilities online or automating our processes. But digital transformation is really a transformation of your culture, technology, and ways of working so that you can help deliver and measure value in a different way. For example, if you look at the continuum of the digital transformation journey on the right-hand side of this slide, you'll see there's continual optimization. This is data-driven, insights-driven, continual improvement of your processes, your operations, and those experiences for your members, and the evolution of new business models, because you become a more adaptable organization. If you could advance that slide. Our framework for continuous transformation provides credit unions with a path forward to enable them to transform their organizations iteratively and to scale that over time. We provide a number of services under each of the 5 phases illustrated in gray, and we employ 2 key principles. The services are offered a la carte, as we recognize that many credit unions are in different places and have different in-house capabilities. And secondly, for organizations who don't have specific capabilities in-house today, we can help to build that competency towards self-reliance in that area if needed. The framework is built on the foundation of identifying and understanding member needs and optimizing end-to-end member journeys across touch points. So when I talk about a journey, I'm not talking about just simply an account opening process. I'm looking at the end-to-end onboarding journey as an example. This requires a shift from product centricity to member centricity and helps to avoid the shiny initiative syndrome that we sometimes experience as organizations, while also galvanizing and aligning teams around meeting member needs and solving real member problems. I can use a specific example from my Van City days where we saw a proliferation of predatory lenders in our communities. We reached into those communities and identified the underlying root causes and invited members into our innovation process. This enabled us to build solutions that address their real needs. We then tested and iterated the solution over time, first offering it within the branches and then iterating that based on feedback, real feedback from our members, and then creating a digital solution. It was highly successful on all fronts and was used as a sustainable example to help influence the reduction in the criminal rate of interest from 60% to 40% at the Senate. The reason why I use that example is essentially by and founding your solutions and member need, you're able to support true innovation, which leads to more holistic solution and create a bigger point of differentiation for your organization. That's the slide. So in terms of how we can add value to you through your journey, we can, as I mentioned, align for member centricity to increase the retention and loyalty, help you to define a path that makes sense for your organization to achieve the digital ambition that you want to achieve, and then help to build agility to continuously improve and adapt, to create that adaptable organization. We know that organizations that are digital leaders have that agility and flexibility built into all facets of their organization. And technology is one of those key enablers. It's really critical that you have the flexibility built in there. So I'm going to pass it over to Barb, who will talk about that key enabler in the integration solution.
Thanks, Deborah. Since our last update in September, we have implemented our integration service into production with the CUFX, the Credit Union Financial Exchange connector, and a DNA core banking connector. So these have been used with our first fintech vendor using our origination API, which is QCash, providing a 60-second, 6-click loan account to members with short-term credit needs. And Varnet will be speaking to you a little bit more about QCash and some of the other vendors that we've been working with. Our team is working on finalization of our vendor selection for our developer portal, which is where fintech partners, host platforms, credit unions, and other institutions will be able to access our complete API catalog. We'll provide a portal to provide our documentation for our published services. It provides those that are doing integration development a testing platform where partners can test our services both in live and in a mock environment. Provides a gateway for enhanced security and policies such as metering of connections and connectivity, caching of data, and other capabilities that we require. As well, it will provide rich reporting both for Celero and for our partners that are using this service. We're working on adding connectors to our API catalog in addition to the origination API that is already available, including things like digital banking, ISO 8583 connectors that are already used in many of our partners, for example, Everlink today, and other enterprise applications as well, for example, CRM. Next slide, please. So this roadmap is actually the execution of our plan of our vision and strategy for integration services as a digital technology and integration company, as Leanne had mentioned earlier. So that initial focus on delivering an origination API is to ensure that we can support the multiple fintech partners that credit unions and others are working with to deliver this key element of delivery of a completely digital onboarding workflow for members. And certainly we do recognize that any of the delivery of new services to members, as well as the internal coordination between data flowing between applications, does require those completely digital workflows end-to-end that Deborah's been referencing. Next slide, please. So Celero's integration service is a shared investment being made to benefit any credit union or financial services provider in Canada, regardless of which core banking system or other partners or platforms that you want to work with to deliver additional value to your members, in order for you to be able to quickly and affordably deliver new capabilities to your members. Certainly our focus, as I explained earlier, has been on the initial pair of connectors that are delivering that real-time stream of data between the DNA core banking system and up to fintech partners using the CUFX connector. And we are already working on many of the other connector sets from an evaluation perspective that you see here on this page. Next slide, please. Here's a bit of a detailed look on some of the broad set of account holder and account data that we've already delivered to production. And we continue to extend these APIs under the CUFX standard based on credit union or financial services provider requirements. So I would encourage you to reach out to your account executive if you have any questions at all about how you can take advantage of this service to enable your digital transformation and service delivery goals. I would now like to invite Varnet to speak more about our fintech services.
Hard at work bringing new innovative solutions to market and maturing our existing ones. Since the last time we spoke, I'd like to highlight some milestones. In conjunction with Barb's team and the integration platform, we launched our QCash solution in December to Median Credit Union in Manitoba. We're also working with a large credit union on a proof of concept for Payjo. We've gained considerable market traction for ASAP. And hearing from our credit unions about the need to have an innovative international remittance solution, we expressed interest in working with a fintech called Mobitize. Through a memorandum of understanding, we will be working with Mobitize to integrate the technology. So if you are interested in exploring a remittance solution, please let us know. Also, based on interest from our credit unions, we are also continuing to explore the market for new innovative solutions. Some fintechs under exploration, and for some of you that might be hidden under my picture on the bottom right of your screen, but we are exploring Nest Ready, which is a revolutionary way of buying a new home. We're also looking at Loan Connect. Loan Connect can be simply described as a Trivago for unsecured loans. It's a demand generation platform that allows credit unions to acquire new business. It has a public website where everyday people, customers, looking for unsecured loans can fill out a small application form. Then the customer is connected with a number of financial institutions offering an unsecured loan. So these are qualified leads that are sent to the credit union, and the credit union only pays for the lead upon a successful conversion. And the third fintech that we're exploring today is called Blend. Blend is a software that betters lending in our current ecosystem by using design and data. Now, switching gears to the present and the roadmap, I'd like to draw your attention to our roadmaps. Sorry, Adam, if you could go back to the last slide. Thank you. So here, I will not be talking about QCash, ASAP, and business analytics. I will be touching on them in later slides and we'll be going into more depth. But from a high level, Payjo, it's an omni-channel, AI-based conversational platform that can answer questions and perform transactions. We're currently working with them on a proof of concept with a credit union. We're anticipating that to complete at the end of Q1, and the solution is available today. But with the proof of concept complete, we will have our first credit union implementation. As noted earlier, with Mobitize, we recently signed a memorandum of understanding which allows us to explore the solution. We're planning to make the remittance solution generally available in Q3. The next few products, ATM Balancing App, CView, DRVA, and Mars, are mature offerings that receive one update each year. Next slide. NewGen, the first solution on the screen here, is a business process modeling solution that lets credit unions orchestrate processes, store files, and contextually communicate with members. NewGen is for credit unions looking for flexibility and configurability in solutions like commercial lending, loan origination, and account origination. We're currently looking for interested credit unions to partner with for NewGen. It is business as usual for Docs and ECM, which will receive one update each year, and this year's update will focus on APIs, UX updates, and accessibility. Last but not the least, our two companies that we're working with for CRM are Doxim and Salesforce. With Doxim, since our announcement at the conference, we've been working with them and expect to have that available in Q3. With Salesforce, we're currently working on building a sandbox environment that is focused on credit union use cases, which will help us quickly implement a CRM. Both solutions are expected to connect into Celero's infrastructure through the ESB platform. On the next slides, I will be featuring QCash, ASAP, Business Analytics in depth, and also will be discussing the roadmaps for this year. First up, we have QCash. As discussed before, QCash is a short-term credit and small dollar loan solution. This is powered by a fintech called QCash Financial. The solution makes it easy for credit unions to issue small dollar loans up to $4,000. The loans can be initiated, decisioned, and funded in about 60 seconds. So it is now economical for credit unions to offer small loans and QCash reduces the administrative burden significantly. Today, we are live with QCash at Median Credit Union in Manitoba, who has seen tremendous success. This solution is available in branch, and we're also launching a web, standalone, and digital banking channels shortly. In terms of the roadmap, we have the addition of channels coming up. We will be updating how loan fees are handled. We're also looking to improve financial wellness by improving the functionality around loan history. And we're also introducing a member engagement platform that rewards select members with preferential rates. On the next slide, I'll be talking about ASAP. ASAP is Celero's omni-channel account and loan opening solution. ASAP offers credit unions the ability to open new accounts and loans online and also in branch. With ASAP, prospective and existing members can open checking accounts, saving accounts, registered and business accounts. They can also apply for secured, unsecured loans and also for mortgages. As you can see with the display on the screen, last month, ASAP launched a new UX. With the new UX, there's a lot more white space and clearer colors and functionality on the right where members can pick multiple products and add them to a basket, just like they're shopping for products on Amazon. Credit unions on ASAP platform also continues to grow, and so do the integrations with third parties. With a recent partnership with a Canadian fintech called Flinks, members can now validate their identity by logging to an existing Canadian FI. This eliminates the need to upload documents. Additionally, ASAP will also be unveiling a new OXP platform, which will make ASAP Canada's most complete experience platform. In terms of the roadmap, we expect 3 major releases in 2019. In June, long-anticipated integration into QMIS will be live, and we'll also be seeing enhanced reporting and analytics dashboards. In September, we're looking at an update to the business UX, business ID confirmation, payroll income verification, member-facing credit reports. In November, additional insurance integrations will also have triggered product upsell and also abandoned cart functionality. The next feature product is business analytics. Celero's business analytics solution helps credit unions unlock the full potential of existing data assets. It helps credit unions understand the factors influencing a number of member decisions, including members that are looking to leave the credit unions or are looking to become inactive. It helps helps credit unions predict products and services that the member needs, and so much more. Our solution is designed to grow with our community of credit unions. And currently, we have a number of connectors to DNA, wealth management, data warehouse, CView, and etc. to create insights, dashboards, and predictive analytics. We are continuing to add more and more credit unions to the mix, which benefits the entire community. Relevant reports and models that a credit union develops as a part of their project become available for existing credit unions. We look for new ideas from our community of credit unions, from research, from innovative vendors. If you have ideas for new predictive models, please do let us know. As a part of this community-focused models, our credit unions have a voice in the product strategy through a governance structure. This voice of credit unions helps us determine the roadmap, which enables continuous improvement. We're anticipating 2 releases in 2019. Our governance committee will be voting on the roadmap next month. We are anticipating minor enhancements, new models, reports, and analysis of connectivity to the ESP in the summer release. In fall, we're expecting a major upgrade to the data warehouse, which is expected to deliver enhanced speed, reliability, and new functionality, including new connectors and reports. On the next slide, as you can see, we're constantly growing. Our aim is to bring innovative new solutions to problems we're facing as a community of credit unions. With a number of boxes already checked, we're continuing to explore these fintech areas highlighted in the red dots. This is in line with industry maturity and, most importantly, input from you, our credit unions. For any of the products here, please do keep the input coming. Our roadmap is influenced by the voice of our credit unions, and your needs and wants are strategic drivers. With that, I'll pass control off to Dean Rathwell. Dean Rathwell is the General Manager for Digital Banking at Celero. Dean?
Thanks, Varnit. I'm here to talk today about where Celero's Banking Transformation Council is at with respect to our digital banking RFP that we began in July of last year. So I want to provide the folks on the call today with an update on where our journey has come from and where we sit today and where we expect to be with this activity over the course of the next 30 to 90 days. And so for those folks on the call that are from credit unions that are part of the Banking Transformation Council constituency, some of this information will be a bit of a rehash. And for those that are in other jurisdictions, hopefully this gives you a bit of an overview as to why the exercise was undertaken and where we sit. And so in July of last year, our Banking Transformation Client Council directed Celero to undertake a digital banking RFP on their behalf. And there's a number of reasons why the committee wanted us to do that. Most importantly was to ensure that they were assessing the market to understand what options were available to them and that we were bringing forth the best possible solution for the credit unions to deliver the member experience that they're looking for through the digital channels, create the platform and capability to innovate with speed, have a level of control over that platform as well. And I would also say that it was also seen as a fiduciary responsibility on the part of the credit unions to ensure that the solution that would go forth is ultimately the right one. And so we began that activity in July of last year by engaging with a third party known as Crow LLB out of the United States, who was actually our consultant who ran the RFP for the Banking Transformation Council. And I'll ask just to flip to the next slide, please. And so we cast our net quite wide. We reached out to, 37, I would say, global digital banking vendors to ask for their participation in the RFP exercise. When we took a look at these 37 vendors, some met all of the or most of the 300 plus criteria that were put into the RFP exercise, and some did not, and so some fell off early on in the process. But we received responses from 12 vendors that I would suggest stretch from across the globe and sit, some of them, in Gartner's Magic Quadrant for digital banking services. The subcommittee of the Banking Transformation Council was formed and was really the group that of credit unions who led the activity with the RFP in terms of getting to a short list and ultimately a vendor that is our vendor finalist. And so we started with 37. We did demos with 9 potential vendors, and then deep due diligence with 4 finalists, landing on eBankit Omnichannel Innovation as the vendor finalist for next steps that we're undertaking right now with that particular vendor. What has been most enlightening by this is just certainly the depth and breadth of solutions that were out there and the quality of solutions that are out there, inclusive of Central One's Forge platform, the Backbase platform, and others. Where we sit today with this initiative is the subcommittee is under a process by which we're completing our final due diligence, and really this rests on a few things. One, ensuring that the eBankit solution can deliver what they proclaim to deliver through a proof of concept that we're running. We're working through what a potential stand-up program could look like, whether there is in fact an opportunity to complete an agreement to provide this solution to credit unions, and finally that there is a viable business case behind it. So this is the activity that began in earnest, I would suggest, in late January, and we're in the middle of that right now, and we're expecting it to conclude within the next, I would say, 30 to 45 days, and then we'll be proceeding with further information to credit unions on the results of that exercise. And maybe I'll ask to flip to the next slide. And so some of you may be wondering about, well, what does a potential move to the eBankit solution mean for Celero's current support services as it relates to Member Direct? And the very short answer to that question is there will be no change in services. We continue to provide services for credit unions on Member Direct, and we will do so for the foreseeable future, and we are working with Central One to ensure that that support can be continued. And I think one of the other big questions is that if the eBankit platform goes forward, there will obviously be choice in the market, and for those credit unions that are on DNA and seek to move forward with the Forge platform, how will that unfold, and what will Celero support services look like? And what I can say categorically is that there will absolutely be a connector from DNA into the Forge solution through Celero's ESB, and that we will provide at minimum a level of assurance on that platform so that credit unions and their members can enjoy that solution if that is the solution the credit union chooses. And so we're moving forward on multiple fronts, not only to determine a path with eBankit, but also to ensure continuity of services for Member Direct, and to work with Central One to determine how we can move forward with a path to ensure, at the very least, connectivity and support for the Forge platform. So in the next few weeks, I think credit unions can look forward to more information about the results, the final results of the RFP, and the various next steps as it relates to that. And we would expect that will help credit unions under the Banking Transformation Council umbrella to go forth and make their decisions on their chosen platform. And with that, I would like to turn it over to Natasha Tracy, who's our product manager for digital banking, to provide some information regarding some pertinent Member Direct features that we think credit unions need to continue to consider and move forward with.
Thank you, Dean. Good afternoon. So digital banking is an important channel. I know I'm stating the obvious there, but it is something that the credit unions continually use to communicate and provide services for their credit unions, for their members. So even though, as Dean mentioned, there are various initiatives that are in progress with digital banking, with Central One, with our BTC credit unions, but the services that you provide to your members through this channel doesn't stop. So even though you don't see a similar roadmap as the previous folks had talked about earlier in this call, as you could appreciate, there's a few moving parts. So we know that Central One has a roadmap that's specific to Forge. We're working together to find out, what would the roadmap would look like for a potential partnership with eBankit. But these are the 4 items of features, key features that we wanted to highlight, that there would be something of importance here for your members. As you're aware, the Interact e-Transfer enhancement user feature it is something that Central One and Celero have been working through to implement and sort of progress through the queue for those credit unions that have e-transfers enabled. So there's 4 there. If you do have that feature enabled and is live, you are placed in a sequential implementation process queue that we're working with our credit unions. Enhanced Strong Pack. So as you're aware, with all the security breaches that the credit unions has experienced, and some of the information that's flowing out there over the last little while, a number of cyber security features have been highlighted and strongly encouraged by Central One and Celero for credit unions to implement. Enhanced Strong Pack, as well as the Pack Reset, are a couple of those features, allowing members to strengthen their login, because that is the one thing that the bad guys out there using error codes that are trying to target the logins and the weaker passwords. So those are highly encouraged. Central One has done a great job in communicating and posting the details of various cybersecurity features that Member Direct offers, as well as a number of partnerships that they have established with various standard security standard companies out there to address the security concerns that are in front of us here. I do encourage you to visit Central One Security site for more information and suggestions on how to, more information on specifically on those features, as well as the necessary steps to implement them. The mobile wallet features is something that's worth mentioning here as well. As we know, and I'm sure if you're tracking the transactions, for those who have implemented Apple Pay, those have been growing over the last several months since Apple Pay, as an example, has been in production and available in Canada. CCUA would be your main point of contact for this to initiate this feature. They are working on certification of Samsung Pay and Google Pay as well. So expect more information on those features coming from CCUA. But this wraps up my section. Thank you very much, and I am going to pass it over to Helen Sarek for the core banking features.
Thank you, Natasha. There are many new features and products on the core banking roadmap. I would like to highlight the broker module and the new deposit account wizard. Broker module is the new product we purchased from Fiserv that gives the ability for DNA to create brokers and agents as organizations and persons. The components of this module would include ability for DNA to be configured to identify these brokers and broker agents, CanEx, and complete DNA broker-specific processing. It also offers different kind of reporting like maturity by broker, broker exposure, geographical breakdown, and broker trial balance. Long-awaited new deposit account wizard brings together creating a person and all accounts into one streamlined process. All actions needed to create the new member are integrated into the one wizard. It also will allow you to create multiple person accounts and join them if that's needed. And
We have implemented client testing for this wizard. Some updates resulted from these testings, and they are being implemented. We are looking for production of this product, and training sessions and demos will be organized closer to the date. And at that time, we will also send instructions on how to set it up, and how you instructions will be shared with our credit unions. Next slide. On the next slide, I would like to share a few updates regarding DNA enhancements from the last release. One of them was loan payment recast. This functionality provides a more efficient process for revising and reapplying multiple loan payments. The workflow will provide real-time display of receivables and the effect of payments as they are reapplied to the original loan account or another account. Receipts by email. While testing, some additional requirements have been identified for the PCI compliance, and we are working on them as prepared to move into the production with this feature. E-statement email notification. This provides the ability for credit unions to notify their members electronically when e-statement becomes available for viewing on Member Direct. A bug fix for this feature is in progress, and we are expecting it to be completed by the end of the quarter. PDF forms. This is in 2018, FISA released this enhancement, which provides the ability for DNA to create custom forms, and development of the forms will be much easier and more user-friendly. This enhanced form mapping and generation feature, together with new tools and techniques, enables a smooth transition from the WMF files to PDF forms, which are still supported, while also adding new capabilities for the designated period. It also supports signing of wet and electronic signatures, and it supports viewing, printing, archiving, and electronic distribution via email. A number of clients are interested in this new PDF form feature, and they will be working with us in 2019 to pilot them and to provide their feedback. Also, the new DNA spring release is coming out. Some of the enhancements, and we are expecting it to be in June. Some of the enhancements and fixes that are coming out will be, for example, e-agreement workflow. There will be a total of 10 improvements and bug fixes. Some of them are ability to edit e-agreements from the relationship profile. Activity query will now show accounts added to e-agreements, and DNA will now display information regarding the person or agreement for PIN maintenance activity. Everlink deposit automation for mixed deposits. The main feature of this enhancement is that the cash portion of the deposit will not have a hold placed on, but the check based on the hold criteria for that member will apply. SAODs. This release will include the ability to pay off or pay down a single account overdraft, as well as the ability to track credit limits changes made on the SAODs. For all these kind of spring release information, there will be more coming out with the release notes from Celero. Next slide, please. I would like to introduce you to the Prologue from Fiserv. It's a fully integrated accounting solution. Just to be clear, FIS is not being sunsetted. It will stay as an accounting program that we will continue to offer. Fiserv offers another, more robust, future-rich accounting tool for those that are looking for different options. It is created to be a standalone feature in a credit union environment, and we are looking for credit unions to engage in a pilot. Once multi-tenancy is available for this product, Celero will investigate the path to set it up in a shared environment. Just as information, currently 18 credit unions are using Prologue in Canada, and you don't need to be on DNA to use the software. If you like to learn more and have more information on Prologue, please contact your account executive and we will arrange a product demo with Fiserv. Lastly, I would like to talk about Membership Closeout Wizard. On the next slide, please. Membership Closeout Wizard is the new DNA app that Celero is developing. This wizard guides you step by step through the process of closing members. The process will include closing of all accounts, agreements, and records, including paying out the loans, delinking card agreements, and removing from joint accounts. and changing the ownership to the single. Even on the last slide, it will have an option to choose the leaving reason or why the account is being closed. Development started in January, and the first calls to the API worked. So we are looking for deployment into production in the Q3 of this year. Also, like, we will be sending more information on each product and feature as they come closer to their production date. This was the update on core banking, so thank you, and I will hand over to Mohsin, who will talk about managed services.
Great, thanks, Helen. I wanted to take some time today to speak about, before we got into product-specific updates that Brandy will come talk to you guys about later on, just sort of some work that we've been doing and is on our roadmap for this year as it pertains to our journey to the cloud and establishing a cloud center of excellence at Celero. So I'll begin with the mission statement, which is to become a cloud-ready organization to quickly respond to business demands and lower operating costs. And as we read that mission statement, there's a few answers that Celero is looking for as we try and go down this path to cloud. We all know that that is the inevitable, and ultimately at some point in time, that's where the services would reside and be serviced out of. But why cloud? How much is it going to cost? What are the savings going to look like? And by when are the questions that we're asking and developing a strategy around on how to get there from our current environment onto a cloud environment, and how do we bring that quickly to the market for our customers. So if you look at some of the challenges that are putting us into a position to think about cloud is, the space, the power, the hardware, the constant capital that has to be poured into each and every year to run data centers. And even after doing all of that, the time to market and to get the new integration into new capabilities is not there. You cannot innovate at the space, at the speed of the innovation that's coming from one of the largest players, such as Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and others, IBM, who've mastered the art of running data centers extremely efficiently. It's now time to figure out how Celero fits and our customers fit into that environment. So we understand the challenges of data center and speed to market and administration, all of those. That's why the first question gets answered. Okay, we do need to move on and and look at what cloud can offer us. Moving on. If you look at the degree of responsibility at what Celero would do and what would it look like in the future, there are essentially 6 different paths of getting to a cloud-enabled solution. The first 3 being a combination of traditional on-premise, where Celero would, in a traditional way, run and manage and own the entire hardware, and your application is essentially running on our hardware, and moving to the right as you go into cloud services, which is the IaaS, PaaS, and software as a service. The value chain increases substantially as you go to the right of the scale, and the more control you let go of that, which is not necessarily a bad thing if it's done in a secure manner with the proper data governance around it. There are lots of benefits to it. So out of these 3 different execution venues of these different IT functions that are laid out on this slide, we feel that our future is going to be potentially spread across all of them. And the reason for that is because of the journey that we would have to go through in assessing and making sure that all the application sets that we're hosting are cloud ready. There is not as big of an advantage if you just do a shift and lift and move it to the cloud and to an infrastructure as a service. That actually does bring some cost efficiencies, but some would argue that you might have other challenges. So we do want to, as we look at our cloud strategy, make sure that we're getting to the far right corner as much as possible, and as we go through that. So from a technological principle standpoint, we're assessing we're assessing solutions that can be scaled out, software defined, where we can virtualize most of the functions, the compute, the storage, and the network. And then finally, bring in automation and orchestration of all operational and management functions as we go through this journey from the left to the right and take our customers along with us. Next slide. So we've set some goals for ourselves in 2019. First and foremost, Celero is just completed our Office 365 migration for Celero's on-prem Exchange services, Skype services, and we're just going down the path of moving some of our other services, which includes SharePoint, Teams, and OneDrive. Teams being a replacement for your traditional way of managing SharePoint and Skype, and OneDrive being the replacement for how you traditionally stored information and data on your file share. So we've done a ton of work with Microsoft to make sure that we've got standard practices in place and security protocols in place to make sure our security posture is correct, and not just for us and for our customers as we start to bring them on. So getting that completed, getting our customers migrated over is priority number one for us. Second, we're going to analyze our application suites that we run and service out of our data centers and understand what the portfolio and roadmaps looks like for our vendors that are servicing those applications, see where there's an opportunity to run to move to an IaaS or a PaaS solution. And the answer is going to vary depending on each application, how old, and what value it brings to the business as we do the migration. What does the security and compliance layer look like for that application? Is it ready to go to the cloud? What are the network requirements? Connectivity, what are the operating requirements, and what does automation look like? So we are taking a very methodical approach to how we begin our journey and move our workloads onto the cloud. Move next. We've been evaluating and working with the partners listed up there: Amazon, Microsoft, AWS, Oracle. And in the process of shortlisting, what are the best providers for IaaS and PaaS service? Each of the vendor and cloud provider has their strengths that they work towards. So Celero is going to have a multi-vendor approach when it comes to multi-cloud approach to all of this. We are not going to get hemmed in with one, because the advantages of going to multi-cloud is the way where the market's going. And with the innovation that's happening in the cloud, each of these vendors brings something special that they have expertise in. So we're keeping a close watch and working with each one of them through this. The process that we're going to go through is we're going to perform a proof of concept of migration of several applications, which are good candidates, test them in production, perform a workload test, and see how they perform. And as we get more comfortable with that, I think we will start to see more and more cloud-based initiatives where the workloads start to get migrated. Next. Before we do anything cloud, really, one of the key aspects of what we need to do is set up a cloud center of excellence. You can actually advance to the next slide. And really, setting up a cloud center of excellence is a fundamental way of how any organization that's looking at it is best practice. Is essentially developing a cross-functional team of people that are responsible for developing and managing the cloud strategy, governance, and best practice around the organization, and can leverage and have the leverage to transform the business using the cloud. So the CCOE, the idea being they'll lead the organization as a whole in our cloud adoption, migration, and operations. And we'll have not just the competency, but the accountability and ownership to bring us there. we got to start with building the right team to make sure we've got the right practitioners in the right place. We scope it properly so the team understands what their immediate area of focus is, and some of those I spoke about earlier. We got to make sure there's proper security and governance around each of the steps that we go through. So as we start migrating, our data is secure, and then empowerment to, the idea being bring our costs down, give us elasticity and flexibility in making our business decisions that work best for us. And then, analysis to promote ideal behaviors when experimenting on the cloud. So there is experimentation, and the cloud does give us the opportunity to do that. So we are starting down the cloud path with these principles in mind. The strategy and the CCOE, Center of Excellence, together will set us on the right path, and wanted to share some of that update with you guys today. Now we'll get into some specific product-related updates. So I'm going to invite Brandy Veslanik, who's the product manager for managed services, to take it from here and give us the update.
Great, thanks, Wilson. So from a managed services perspective, the focus of our roadmap is to continue to identify and provide leading-edge solutions that will drive employee efficiencies and cost savings throughout your business. Looking at the products that are in the development phase, one of our more important initiatives relates to building a managed security services offering. The reality that in-house IT resources can stay current on the ever-changing and evolving cybersecurity threats puts your organization at risk. And the financial services industry in particular has become the target of choice for those wanting to identify areas of vulnerabilities. So supplementing your in-house IT resources with the Celero's specialized managed security services can reduce your risk and provide operational efficiencies by allowing your IT resources to focus on other initiatives. Now, as Celero moves forward with our offering, we have started an opportunity assessment, and pending the outcome of that assessment, the next step in the process will be to complete vendor assessments and an RFI in the second quarter. We will be reaching out for client participation in the validation of requirements and in the vendor assessment and selection process, with the estimated timeframe to offer a managed security offering being the end of Q3 or beginning of Q4. Next, we're also actively assessing a variety of items when it comes to the Canadian regulations and payments modernization. Celero is actively engaged and working to meet the Payments Canada schedule for modernization. We are working closely with the Prairie Payment Organizations, Payment Canada directly, and numerous strategic industry players. Celero is active in readying its technology ecosystem to provide application and platform integration solutions to ensure that credit unions are prepared for the ISO 20022 standard. Now, we are also evaluating market solutions to provide credit unions with what we've termed credit union in a box. We want to provide a simple solution when it comes to the virtual desktop experience. So at a high level, Celero would send you a desktop. All you'd have to do is receive it, plug it in, and sign on. All the applications would be hosted remotely in Celero's data technology center or in the cloud. We would have a predefined set of user personas to choose from based on the end user role in the organization. And a custom session would be created on the fly and would continue to run for the course of the day. Now, these sessions can be made persistent based on user requirements. This is a substantial, will help in substantially reducing your errors and issues caused due to profile corruption, malware, user errors, etc. Now, in addition to a simpler experience with the desktop, Celero is exploring software-defined networking technologies that can leverage commercially available internet connections and provide that secure and redundant connectivity to our technology center or to cloud service providers. Now, this would be done with the goal to establish network connectivity between Celero and our customers in a quick and cost-effective manner. In addition, we would marry with the virtual desktop as a service offering, and it would eliminate network-related congestion, especially when it comes to slow link locations. Adam, you can move to the next slide. Now, during the last product roadmap sessions, we started the conversation around the expansion of managed security solutions that we wanted to offer going forward. The first managed security product we launched is a real-time threat alerting solution called Dark Web Monitoring Service. This solution provides awareness of compromised data associated with your employees, contractors, and other personnel. Now, automated alerting is one part of an overall solution. The next step is to educate your employees to be more proactive and use best practices regarding password management to prevent their credentials from being compromised. Introducing an enterprise-grade password manager tool helps your employees to implement these best practices. Today, employees are required to manage multiple passwords across various applications and sites that they use on a regular basis to do their job. And while most employees know that they shouldn't necessarily reuse passwords and that they should change their password regularly and using strong, unique passwords, the reality of manually managing such a process is a challenge. So what is a password vault and how will it help both your employees and your organization? The purpose is to empower organizations to use stronger and more secure passwords for everyday use in an effort to prevent exposure to credential theft or informational breaches. The tools would live on your endpoint and act as a digital gatekeeper, filling in your login information when you need to access a certain site or application. The simplicity for your employee is all they have to do is remember one single password, which is called the master password. Now, why should an employee use a a password manager? First, it simplifies the login process while enhancing the hygiene of your credentials. It provides random password generators so the employee doesn't have to remember to change their password or to think about unique passwords for protection from from security breaches. It'll also streamline the login process in applications and sites through the automatic login function. Now, the use of a password management tool is a natural add-on to a real-time threat alerting solution like the dark web monitoring. So together, they provide a comprehensive threat protection solution. The password vault will proactively prevent compromises, and dark web will provide immediate alerting should a compromise occur. Now, as an update of where we're at in the product launch life cycle, up to this point, we have been assessing the various vendors in the market and trying to narrow it down to the top products that had the most feature functionality and the level of security required for the financial industry. Next, we've started an internal trial of the product in our environment, and after some initial learnings, we are ready to open up the trial to a few credit union representatives. And if the trial is proven successful, we will continue down the path to launch as an official product offering to expand on the managed services that Celero has available for you to subscribe to. Moving to the next one. So the next update is on the Office 365 project. I expect many of you on the call today are interested in knowing where we are at with this project. Since the last product roadmap sessions, we have been leveraging our Microsoft partnership to build our knowledge on the product offering, understanding how to properly implement and manage this new environment. Most importantly, have made significant advancements on defining best practices on security and data governance. Some of you may have attended the webinars we held in Q4 last year regarding the product and licensing components. So if you have any interest in listing those webinars, they are recorded and can be located on Celero's extranet site. Now, since those webinars, Celero has been doing our due diligence in reviewing the security components involved with Office 365. With data being stored in the cloud, the security review and best practices around that are vitally important when it comes to data leakage and compliance. And this is both for the movement of data in motion and data at rest. And also being in the financial services vertical, we need to ensure that the product offering is complying with PCI and OSFI, both internally for Celero and for our customers. And this is what sets Celero apart from other managed services providers in this space. Now, to build our expertise, we have engaged with an external security consultant that specializes in Office 365 to provide recommendations on our approach to security. Our security assessment process involved identifying a master checklist of over 60 items that were prioritized and subsequently remediated. Celero's value add is the baseline that we've created for our customers to use as that starting point for their tenant and their journey to the cloud for future workload migrations. Now, this template will be reviewed with each customer as we onboard them, and we can provide insight on best practices. In addition, Celero is able to provide recommendations to ensure each customer tenant is a complete defense in-depth security posture. Office 365 comes with a built-in tool to assess your tenant and provide a security score. And with Celero's managed services, we can assist with growing your score. From a continuous improvement perspective, Celero will continue to be diligent and proactively monitor the environment and have defined processes in place related to breaches to protocol. Looking at where we're at today, Celero just, can you go back one, Adam? When we're looking at where we're at today, Celero just recently rolled out the core components of Office 365 internally and have our first week of operational support under our belts. In addition, we have engaged with our pilot credit union with their kickoff to migrate to Office 365 with an anticipated May implementation timeframe. Our learnings from our own internal implementation and the pilot location will allow Celero to develop a standard repeatable process to use with the rest of our customers. We've also started drafting a migration schedule for existing and new customers to move from current on-premise environments to Office 365. And this is based on the initial expression of interest from our customers. We are currently estimating the end of March to communicate the initial rollout of a schedule to our customers. And finally, we're anticipating an April timeframe of starting customer assessments and being able to provide ordering documents to our customers. Next slide. In our last product update session, we highlighted a new feature add-on we were starting to work on related to disaster recovery for our existing managed cloud backup product offering. The current product provides an automated solution to replace legacy tape drives in your branch servers and provide resource efficiencies around the manual management of those tape drives. Now, we are working on an optional add-on solution for enhanced disaster recovery services. As natural or human disasters can strike your credit union, it is important to have your continuity plans defined and in place. And the Managed Cloud Backup provides the security of an off-site copy of your branch server data in Celero's Technology Center. Now, the new DR as a Service add-on expands that offering with the ability to generate a virtual branch server in Celero's Technology Centers using the existing branch data. Now, this eliminates the need to build a physical branch server in the event of a disaster. So whether that scenario is your branch server is just simply unavailable, or it's a true natural disaster that provides it'll provide an automated solution. Today, if either of those were to happen, it would involve executing manually intensive business continuity plans. So this solution will also provide flexibility to test your continuity plans by generating your virtual branch server at any time and with minimal effort. The ability to initiate an ad hoc test request will further validate your readiness should an actual disaster occur. Now, overall, leveraging the DR add-on service will minimize the cost of downtime, data and productivity loss, and other adverse effects on a credit union that a disaster can trigger. Together with the Managed Cloud Backup, DR add-on, and DNA remote apps, it'll provide a complete solution when it comes to your ability to fully functional and have relatively uninterrupted service to your member in the event of a disaster. To give you an update of where we're at in the process, we have been actively working on developing a streamlined and repeatable process. We will be engaging with a few customers to review and try out that process for feedback so we can make any improvements. And our estimated launch timeframe is Q3 of this year. With that, I'll pass it back over to Leanne.
Thanks, Randy. So thank you everyone for sharing your roadmaps and your plans. There's a saying that there are three good reasons why good strategies fail: execution, execution, and execution. We take our commitments to honoring our timelines very seriously. So in closing, I did want to highlight a few areas that we've advanced our strategy in recent months, beyond merely a PowerPoint and roadmaps of where we intend to go. So as I mentioned before, national growth and building on our core banking expertise is a key focus area, and we're pleased to share that since we met last in September, 3 more credit unions have made the decision to move to DNA hosted by Celero. We will be welcoming Carpathia, Parama, and Estonian into the Celero family. There are an additional 5 credit unions that have started their conversion projects, so Tracy's team is quickly expanding to accommodate the increasing demand that we are seeing in the market. At the request of our Banking Transformation Council, we completed an RFP for a digital banking platform, and a preferred vendor has been selected. Recognizing there was a gap in business process and digital transformation strategic consulting, Deborah Moore was hired to provide this guidance for our credit unions. On the ESB front, with tight timelines to deliver in 2018 and much pent-up demand, our app dev and fintech teams were thrilled to be able to finish 2018 with a fintech live in production, connected through our ESB to a Celero-hosted DNA credit union. In Rojan's FinTech business unit, we now have 4 credit unions signed up for analytics and 10 signed ASAP clients, 6 of which are live in production and 4 are in progress of being implemented. QCash and Pajo were both featured at our conference as part of our FinTech Innovator Award, and both have progressed to become full partners of Celero, with QCash live in production and Pajo moving forward with the POC. Our vendor selection for CRM was completed in the fall as promised, and we're building out our go-to-market partner models for Doxum and Salesforce. For ECM, we are in market today, featuring both Doxum and NewGen solutions depending on client requirements. For cloud, Mohsen was good enough to take us through an update there, and we're doing our due diligence to establish a cloud center of excellence, starting with our implementation of Office 365 and developing a baseline to assist our customers with their journey to the cloud for future workloads. For strategic partnerships, we continue to solidify our strategic partnerships with Fiserv, IBM, Salesforce, FinTech Growth Syndicate, and others to be able to provide you with the best possible terms and pricing as you move forward. So there are several ways that you can stay informed from here. Each of the product leads and business unit leads took you through 3 key focus products today, but obviously our product portfolio spans beyond that. So we'd encourage you as a first point of contact to reach out to your account exec if you want more information on anything you've heard today, or if you'd like a one-on-one conversation to go deeper on any of these topics. Our extranet and website are both great sources of updates and documentation. And in order to be sure you don't miss any webinar invitations or news releases, we encourage you to subscribe for updates. When I send out both the presentation later today and the link to the recorded webinar, I'll be sure to include a click through to subscribe so you're able to facilitate that as well. Another great way to join a community of fellow credit unions is to share your innovative ideas and guide our development efforts by participating in the Ideas portal. We're pleased to say that it's being relaunched on March the 4th. Adam, on the next slide, there's some more information there. And it's been overhauled to reflect some of the feedback that we've received. We've simplified the process to improve transparency and align better to the direction of our credit unions. We anticipate that ideas will be heavily weighted to digital banking and fintech moving forward versus operational DNA bug fixes as they were in the past. The last piece I will leave you with on the final slide is a reminder and invitation to join us at our FinTech conference in October in Montreal. This is the first time we've ventured east, and we're excited for what promises to be another jam-packed few days of networking, thought-provoking speakers, Fairmont hospitality, in an amazing and uniquely Canadian destination. Registration will be opening mid-March, so please watch for that in your inboxes. So thank you again for your time today, and please reach out to your account execs if you have any questions at all that we didn't cover off today. And the next installment of this we're targeting for June, so we look forward to talking to you then.